As you wait for your Helldivers 2 account to link to your PSN account, you can spend your time listening to a Slice of Gaming podcast. I'm your host, Moonlight150, and this is a Slice of Gaming podcast for May 3rd, 2024. I would like to thank you for giving a slice of your time to a Slice of Gaming podcast. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Radio Public, and Audible.
You weren't supposed to say all the podcast, Moon. We talked about
What?
that last week. You
Don't-
you were supposed to say, uh, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. Reset the podcast. We already fucked it up.
That's insane.
When did we change that?
We changed that. We talked about it, and you were like, "Yeah, that's a good idea."
I don't remember.
Do you have short-term memory loss? What the
Yes.
fuck?
Old
Come
fish.
on, restart.
Nah, it's too late now. We'll save it for next episode.
Nobody wants to log a podcast intro. Just do a quick restart. Come on.
All right. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and more podcast platforms. Is that better?
I am here.
You acted a bit angry there. I could feel it in your tone of voice.
But on this episode, we have Bench.
I'm here. Don't tell them to just link their Helldivers account because that only takes like less than 2 minutes, and the internet can't handle that.
We have Wolf.
Bench is stupid.
What? Wow,
Fusion.
says the person who was 15 minutes late.
If you ask me, 2 minutes is a long time. So
And special appearance by Jet.
How's it going?
Let's go!
Yeah.
So with all that, as we, with us with slow internet, have to wait for those links to happen, we shall pass it over to Wolf for the news.
Yeah, pretty interesting news week. We got some good stuff here. First story. Sorry to say this. Bench is officially kicked off the podcast. We discussed this.
Wow.
Bench, I'm sorry, you're hearing about this now. Me and Fusion, we were talking about this. Moon added to the discussion.
Uh-huh.
It's the right call.
Uh-huh.
yeah, is replacing you for the rest of the episodes.
I wanted to introduce you to your replacement before you got kicked out.
Listen, if it's Jat, he can do a better. He should solo the cast, and he'd be better than all.
True.
Of us
He
combined.
should use our solo cast, the Jack cast.
I am not
Yeah.
leaving.
Oh, yeah.
You can't. I have too much in this.
Too much of this. Yeah, okay.
Well, we're just firing
Anyways,
you. This is a layoff, buddy.
He says that, yet he's probably the one who's missed the most episodes.
I put out a video. I don't see Wolf's video.
It's coming. Maybe,
crazy.
hypothetically, we don't know.
maybe.
Hypothetically.
I'm just saying. I didn't know we were airing out your video on the public
Well,
yet.
Yeah, that's actually crazy. You were not supposed to reveal that to the
Exactly.
public. We
See,
don't
so I
know.
was trying to
Well-
help you.
Well, if I'm getting kicked off, everything's game.
He's taking us down with him.
Taking us down.
Well, Bench, if you're getting kicked off, that means you'll have more time for the Switch 2, which actually, coincidentally, is
insane.
our first topic. What will the Switch 2 change from the Switch 1, officially speaking? And this is kind of our topic question. We're bringing the segment back. Not segment, this is just the new way we do the podcast. And also, another question I want to ask, does it even need to drastically change? And I kind of brought this up because we kind of got some more details regarding the Switch 2. Stealth40k has this over on Twitter. MobaPad, a Switch accessory manufacturer, has posted what they think they know about the Switch 2. Backwards compatible with Joy-Con/Pro controller, backwards compatible with Switch cartridges, new Joy-Cons magnetically attached to the Switch 2, dock support 4K output, new kickstand has a damping bracket on the back for improved angle adjustment, and screen is larger than on original Switch 1080p. And I want to immediately ask, just do we believe this? Do we think this is all anything real? Because obviously, grain of salt, this is just a Switch accessory manufacturer. This is not an official regards from anyone at Nintendo.
I would assume they would have to know at least something about the devices because they got to make equipment that functions on the device. So they got to probably not everything, but at least some things.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Is this the first time that we've seen someone say 4K output outright? Because I feel like we've been back and forth on
there-
no, it won't hit the 4K mark, but I feel like it's the first time someone has actually said, yeah, the dock's gonna support 4K.
I think we saw some rumors from less credible sources regarding 1080p for the dock. So this
Yes,
is
that's
the
where I would draw
most
the line on
credible.
believing these kind of rumors. Because what did they specify? What kind of accessories these people make?
I think they actually hang on. This is from my Nintendo news.
Because unless they're making bare docks or something to do with the dock, I wouldn't trust these kind of rumors because, like, if you're a Joy-Con accessory person, you're not going to know what the output on the dock is.
See, this
You
could
don't need to know
probably
about
could
that to make
be.
your accessory. So unless
This
this is
could
a
be.
dock manufacturer, I'm not going to believe something like that.
Yeah, I don't even know if I completely believe them, but all I really want from a Switch is a more powerful Switch. It can be. That's honestly all I want.
I mean, that's really the question in general. Like, like how much more powerful? How much does Nintendo need to push the envelope to make the Switch 2 even more of a success, or at least like match the success of the Switch 1?
I mean, I think just like 4K, DLSS or an equivalent, and that's about it for me.
So they mostly make Switch Joy-Cons. I
Yeah, see.
can't find anything regarding a dock. So I will say the dock part about 4K output is the part where I'm a little more like, I don't know. But we do know that the magnetic thing, that was corroborated by another report, I think around last week, where they very much stated like, yeah, this is magnetically attached. And I know that source had a lot better of a track record. I can go look for that one real fast. But I mean, Jad, how about you? Like, I know you're the big Nintendo guy. Does anything regarding like 4K output, magnetic attached, does that get you any more excited for the Switch 2, or are you like, I'm in regardless, even if it's 1080p?
Yeah, so I want to be. I mean, the reason why I was excited, I think we were all excited for the Switch One, was mostly just like the the ambitious like software that Nintendo had put out, like and also, well, yeah, like the software is like gonna be more of a seller because the idea with the Switch was like, oh, now you can take this with you and also play on your TV. So now that part doesn't seem as exciting now because now it's like, okay, yeah, it's probably going to be the same thing again, but with better hardware. And as for magnetic Joy Cons, I don't care how the Joy Cons are. They just please don't make them drift again, Nintendo. I had to send in mine like
They will.
3 times
You know,
at least.
It's very possible they utilize this is a thing back in the Dreamcast. I forget what the technology is utilized, but like it's a style of like making your control the joystick undriftable, where it doesn't get affected by stuff like that. That's not really used with a lot of modern consoles, and a lot of the modern controllers drift more than ever. So
I've never had a drift problem. I think on any of my controllers.
Yeah, me either. Granted, I almost
I've
never use the
had
Joy-Con, so they could be drifting right now, and I would have no idea because all I use is the Pro controller.
I had several. I had two of my Joy Cons drift, and I just bought new ones. But I was just like, man, I don't know why this is an issue. And very clearly, it was an issue all across the internet. I mean, like it was a massive thing to where they straight up had to create a department regarding like Joy-Con send-ins and whatnot. I am curious about this backwards compatible. I feel like that's just almost like a guarantee at this point because it would be kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous to not have it backwards compatible.
Oh yeah, they have a huge software library, and like so many developers put their games on there because I think that they made it like easier than like than the Wii U to like actually to make games. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree. It'll be backwards compatible.
I should specify. So real quick, the magnetic Joy-Con report came from Vandal, which is a Spanish website. They've done reports about the Switch and just Nintendo stuff in general right before. So I think the magnetic Joy-Cons are probably the most likely part of the whole story. The other thing I'm a little more intrigued by is the backwards compatible Joy-Cons Pro controller. My assumption is your Joy-Cons will Bluetooth, like they will connect wirelessly. You can utilize your Joy-Cons from the old Switch, but you can't dock them to your Switch 2. I think that's a safe
Yeah.
assumption because they're switching to a magnetic system.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
yeah. So
Now
so
watch
there
the
will be
new
like
drift will be the magnets don't work.
yeah. And I feel like there's gonna be definitely a lot of YouTube content of people playing around with the magnetic like Joy Cons and seeing what they can do with it.
Yeah, I'm curious. I guess to go back to the original question, I mean, does this Switch 2 even need to drastically change that much from the Switch 1 in order to sell well? Or do you think Nintendo's kind of like can try to coast along with the Switch 1 success and almost like guarantee a success even
I
if
mean,
they
the
don't
Switch
change
name and
much?
Nintendo itself is always gonna carry it among casuals, diehards, and all that. I mean, it's the reason why they ditched the Wii U name. I'd like if the Wii U was a success, the Switch would have been called like the Wii Portable or something like that because of the name recognition, but because of the failure of the Wii U, they're like, okay, we got to ditch this entirely. So now that Switch is now a household name and with a positive reputation, they're going to continue on with it. So they can ride those coattails. They don't have to really do much. They just be like, all right, here's a Switch. It's a bit more powerful. It does a little bit more. Hey, look, magnets. How do they work? And then they just kind of move on.
Yeah, I mean, bringing up the Wii U is a good segue. I mean, I think this thing, they very much, just with how bad the Wii U did, they know it's kind of dangerous to reuse the same name. And they're like, okay, we need to make sure that this is very clearly a sequel. So I just think they call this thing Switch 2. I don't think Super Switch, new Nintendo Switch, that's all too confusing for the common consumer. And I know it's like, oh, it's not confusing for me. You guys got to remember the common consumer. Just assume they're dumb. So I think they very much are just going to be safe and say Switch 2.
Yeah, I think it's Switch 2.
I think it's Switch 2, but I really love that, like, the Super Switch name, or like just something cool like that, like they did with the Super Nintendo.
I would love that too, but it's like, I feel like Nintendo like saw that on the dartboard and they're like, do you think Grandma would know it's another one?
Yeah,
Like,
it would be something. Yeah. It's so much easier to just like, I think the PlayStation thing, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like it's just so much easier to just. The Switch is now just a name everyone knows. It's so much easier to just put a number after it.
100%. We'll see. I'm thinking. I still think a June reveal is possible. A lot of people are saying like, oh, they won't do a June reveal because they want to do a June Nintendo Direct for the rest of the software lineup for the rest of the year. I think they just want to reveal this thing as soon as they can, and June just to me like makes the most sense in my mind.
I think it's maybe we hear of its existence, like no trailers, just not even a name, but like something is coming over the summer, but I don't think we get like a proper reveal until September.
I mean, yeah, you bring that up. It's very the May investor meeting. They should be having one in a couple weeks, so it's very possible that we just hear, "Hey, there is a successor to the Nintendo Switch in the works," because they know that we know it's a thing. So you might as well just let the cat out of the bag at this point.
Yeah, but they won't. They'll say it when they want to say it.
Oh yeah, man! Like Nintendo kind of beats to their own drum and works out for them. It's frustrating for news, man. You know, I just want to put Switch 2 in the title and have it mean something. That's all. But company that does talk a lot is Xbox. And with that, they announced their Xbox showcase. Now I want to actually read the article before we get into it. The Verge has this, Tom Warren. The Xbox Game Showcase airs June 9th, followed by Call of Duty Direct. Now, Tom Warren put in the thing, Call of Duty Direct. Technically, it's the redacted Direct. They're not revealing the name. It's Call of Duty. Like, come on, it's not even a fucking.
Like, how is it anything but?
I don't know why they're like hiding it. Microsoft is officially
watch it
holding
be like World of Warcraft Direct.
Oh my god. I mean, it literally has the Capitol building on the fucking thing, so it's like, oh, I wonder, Perfect Dark? Microsoft is officially holding its big Xbox Summer Showcase on June 9th, as The Verge reported earlier this month. The showcase will air on Sunday, June 9th at 10 a.m. PT, 1 p.m. ET. Microsoft is only teasing the Call of Duty Direct as the next installment of a beloved franchise, but sources familiar with the company's plan tell me that this is indeed Call of Duty. We will here we go. The showcase will also include a number of release dates for upcoming Xbox games like Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, Avowed, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And we'll also likely get a date on the big Shattered Space expansion coming to Starfield. We'll get into that one later. Hang on, and then there's one more thing. I understand Bethesda is currently targeting September. Activision is targeting Call of Duty for late October. Avowed and Microsoft Flight Simulator likely to follow in November, and Indiana Jones in December. Now, Fusion, I immediately want to just talk to you because I know how frustrated you get by a lot of these articles just saying like, oh, here's all the dates. Did you feel that when reading this article?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I've said on the podcast before, I get a little annoyed when insiders will throw, like, we're going to get this information in a month, so why are you like jumping ahead and saying this is when it's gonna happen? I like when devs get the time to say when their game's coming out. Granted, release dates a lot less annoying than like when you're just like you're going to leak an entire game, they're showing up. I think what's interesting about these dates, I understand devs probably don't think of the Game Awards that much, like they don't care, but it would be very interesting to see there's already been a lot of people who are like Xbox missing the mark on the TGA stuff with like Forza. It's not Xbox's fault, by the way. With like Forza missing the TGA date of being like it couldn't be nominated for the Game of the Year. I'd be very surprised if like Avowed and Indiana Jones were able to be nominated for the TGAs this year. And I feel like Xbox doesn't care. Like they probably don't care, but it's interesting to see like a lot of fans are like, we want these games to be able to like be showcased at the Game Awards and be up for awards. And like when they get released so late in the year, since Keighley like the shutoff's like November 10th or something, he shuts it off so early. It's interesting to see these dates and be like, these are like your premier titles. It'd be kind of cool to get them out earlier just for the TGAs, but that's not how game devs work.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Indiana Jones definitely not. Avowed, if it's early in November, they could get release date or review codes earlier. Like kind of do another like God of War Ragnarok, Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Both were like kind of early-ish November dates, but they were able to get the review codes out really early to try to get that TGA spot. So maybe they can get Avowed in there, but I doubt Indiana Jones because that is straight up in December, at least according to Tom Warren. But he has a pretty squeaky clean track record, so I doubt this is wrong. I do find it interesting. I mean, just like the question I actually wanted to ask, let me go into it. What will the structure of this showcase be? Will this be the format going forward? What surprises can we expect, if any? And I want to start with that first question. What will the structure of this Xbox showcase be? We know now they kind of seem to be doing this twice in a row where they're doing the main Xbox showcase and then a developer direct on like a specific game. We saw that last year. They did that with Starfield. And now it seems like they're doing it again with Call of Duty. And Mike Minotti was bringing this up. It's like, man, that would kind of suck if the one more thing is just Call of Duty. Like there isn't a big surprise. It very much is Call of Duty. What's y'all's thoughts on that?
I mean, it's not a one more thing. One more things aren't previously announced. It's
I mean,
they
the one.
they are announced at the very direct itself for the presentation. It's not a, oh yeah, make sure to tune in for this other thing. It's not the one more thing. That's just you scheduling another event. So I don't understand his comparison there.
Normally, I'd agree, but last year's one more thing was Starfield, and the Starfield Direct was previously announced.
Yeah,
so
but
there's a
that's
precedent there.
yeah, that was an Xbox mistake of saying one more thing. I'm with like it can't be a one more thing when it's already announced. Like we already know it's happening. So hopefully they do have a one more thing this year, and it's like Fable or something at the end. But I will say good on Xbox because I don't know if you guys would share the same sentiment. I love the way last year's show went, and I hope this is the way they do it every year.
Oh,
I
yeah.
absolutely love like 90 minutes of just like your showcase, all your games, and then you have like a 30-minute, 45-minute on like that big game that year. Which like I understand people are excited about Call of Duty compared to if this was like maybe Perfect Dark or Fable, Avowed, Indiana Jones. But leaving Call of Duty out of the picture, it's still such a cool way to do a showcase because like you have your entire showcase where you're gonna get reveals and surprises and dates, and it's just like you're gonna have fun, and then it's also like, hey, and if you're really into this next game, like if you're into Call of Duty or last year if you were into Starfield, hey, you're getting 45 minutes of just pure Starfield, of just pure Call of Duty. Like it's getting meme this year because it's Call of Duty, but like I truly hope they do this every single year, and every single year it's like maybe next year would be Perfect Dark. The year after that would be Fallout. It wouldn't be, but like if it was just like something along that line, I would absolutely love because I think this is by far the best format that Xbox has ever had in like an E3 type press conference.
Yeah, I agree. However, we're saying it's Call of Duty. They did not tell us it's Call of Duty, which I think is very, very stupid. Just
Yeah,
like tell us
yeah.
it's Call of Duty and don't try and
It's
hype it
weird
up.
It's just weird to say like, oh, we don't know what it is. It's like, dude, we don't even need the Tom Warren like report. Like you look at the image and it's Call of Duty. Like we know it's Call of Duty. I will say, I did look back at the 2023 summer showcase. First of all, I saw the Starfield Direct and I got sad again because I realized how that game turned out. But that's a side note. But Clockwork Revolution was the actual last thing of the game showcase, like the game showcase proper.
Mhm.
So it seems like they've have a precedence for at least ending the game showcase before the actual big direct with something big. You know, Clockwork Revolution, that was a big reveal. That's
That
getting
looks
a new
cool.
big game. Yeah, very excited. And I mean, we look at this, it's maybe we're hoping that that's kind of be a similar thing with this new showcase is that we get a good one more thing.
Mhm.
Which I think we will. I 100% think I think Xbox, as much crap as we give them for other stuff, I think their press conferences have really gotten better every year. Like they might not
Oh,
be
yeah.
delivering on everything they're saying in them, but like from a just pure entertainment, like Xbox is really good at like, I mean, even their developer directs in January, like those things are awesome. Like they're getting really good at putting on these events. So like, good for Xbox. Like I wish Sony would do something like this. I wish
Yeah.
other like I wish like you I guess it's different from like Ubisoft and EA because they don't have as many games to show and they're not like a console, like they don't have their own console. But like I wish that this was the true format for everyone. I understand why everyone can't do it, but like this is awesome to me. And again, it's Call of Duty, and I will say, you're saying like they should have just told us it's Call of Duty, which I guess they could have, but they had to give us enough info for us to know it was Call of Duty. Because imagine if going into this conference, we had no idea the next 30 minutes was going to be Call of Duty. It would have got way more backlash if you were
Right.
expecting Perfect Dark or Fable or something else, and then Call of Duty showed up on your screen. Like they had to give you enough information so you could be like, oh, it's Call of Duty, but you could also still be excited and like theorize for the first hour when you were like, maybe it's not Call of Duty, but like it's better to know that it's actually Call of Duty than to not know it's Call of Duty.
That's probably the best point of this is, yeah, they're doing this weird, like, oh, we don't know, we're not going to tell you what it is. But the fact that everyone just pretty much assumes it's Call of Duty means you can sit through that 90-minute show and not worry about Call of Duty taking up 15 minutes of, I mean, they probably will have some kind of like teaser
Trailer or something.
reveal, but hey, cool, get that minute, 2-minute trailer out, cool, let's move on. And it's like, and if you're interested in Call of Duty, you can stick around for the next show. But if you're not, you can just enjoy the 90 minutes of other things.
And I
And
will
It's really smart to separate Call of Duty as
Yeah.
well, because there are a lot of people that just don't care about the actual Xbox game showcase. They just want the Call of Duty. They want to see the new Call of Duty, and it's better to have them like not like sitting in the chat snooze Z's, which they probably still will, but all that. Just put the Call of Duty show afterwards, and then that's
Yeah.
for them.
Is the last game Gears 6? And if so, I find that disappointing and not anything on Xbox. It's just something that leakers that we know about. And I would, if that's like treated as the big last thing, that would kind of like,
No, that almost
damn
feels like
those
an
leakers.
opener because it's like, hey,
Yeah, I
it's
was
a
going the same.
well-known, established franchise. It's something a lot of people love, and we also got to remember, probably the people who are tuning into this thing, maybe 20% of those people pay attention to leaks like we do. So it's
Yeah.
going to be a new surprise for like 80% of the people tuning in. But even then, it doesn't feel like a one more thing. One more thing are like surprises and brand new stuff. Whereas this is you open with like a Gears of War. It's like here's a series that you know and love. Like we're gonna open with this.
I mean, that's kind of transitions into my next question. Like, are we expecting a big surprise? What do we think it could be? That big one more thing, or just in thing
I think
throughout
it'll
the
be
show?
something
There's
along the
something that-
lines of a Clockwork Revolution, where it's like,
Doom.
here's a brand new game, brand new IP. Be excited for it. That's about it.
Doom Year Zero.
Oh God, don't do that to me. Then I'll actually be like, yo, Xbox number one, Sony in the fucking dirt. It's Xbox number one, baby. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that now. Sorry, Future, go ahead.
Two things. First thing, also the redacted for Call of Duty, it works because that's Black Ops thing. Like every year, every time a Black comes out, it's always redacted before it's ever shown. Like so it makes sense. Two, for the last more thing, I actually don't think it will be new. I don't think it will be Gears. I think it will be something like Perfect Dark or something they've announced. Maybe even Fable, which wouldn't be like a huge one last thing for me unless it was like a 10-minute deep dive into the gameplay. I think that would be good, but I think it's going to be like I guess it could be something new, but in my opinion, I think that one last thing this year will be like, here's your first look at Perfect Dark again, or maybe State of Decay 3. Like they have so many games that they announced 2 to 3 years ago that we haven't seen since. That I think those would be like the perfect. Let's end the show on something we showed you 2 years ago, like a tease of. Now you can finally see what it is. Like
It could
God of War
also be
Ragnarok.
an update on Fable. Fable's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah,
prediction about Fable. I think they date it.
Like they go on a date with it, or they put a release
No,
date?
I think they give us a release date for Fable. First
Take
half
that
of
question seriously.
2025.
That's a bold take.
I could see it. I think I don't know. Like I feel like the one last thing would probably be like an id Software's next game, which I actually don't think it's Doom Year Zero. I think it's Quake. I've seen way more rumors about Quake, and I know everyone's like, "Oh, that Bethesda list of the leaked games." It's like most of those probably don't exist anymore. Like, especially not something like Dishonored 3. That does not exist. So I feel like plans may have shifted much more heavily than we.
So
may
what
have thought.
are the odds we see the Fallout 3 and Oblivion remasters? Do we see those?
Better be. I better see them. That's what I'm
Well,
saying.
I,
I
I,
need.
I think, I think because of the show's success, like a Fallout 3 remaster or like anything Fallout content related would be huge. Or,
And I
like,
definitely like. Yeah,
No,
I prefer
as
the
though
Oblivion.
I was watching Defining Duke and Lord Cognito. He said straight up that they should just put a Fallout 5 teaser, like that JPEG on the screen, and people will freak out. I think that's a horrible idea because we keep ragging on Xbox for announcing things too early. The last thing they need to do is announce something too early, like a Fallout 5, which won't be ready until like 2030 something.
Yeah, we already did this with Elder Scrolls 7 years ago. Like, let's not do it again.
Nintendo learned from Metroid Prime 4, so I don't think
Exactly.
I think companies are
it's
learning
not a-
to like just not do that anymore.
Yeah, if anything, they just announce it in a press release. It's like, yeah, we're making like how they announced the new Tomb Raider game. It's like, yeah, new Tomb Raider's in development. It's like, wow, that was exciting. I mean, Fusion, I kind of want to ask you, are you feeling good about this new Call of Duty? I know you love the Black Ops games. You're a Treyarch boy. Like, do you think this one's gonna reinvigorate the series after Modern Warfare 3's disappointment?
Um, I gosh, how do I word this without sounding like a Call of Duty fanboy? I mean, it's been 4 years since Treyarch. I think if there's ever a time for like, and Call of Duty's not dead or anything, not even close. Like they still do crazy numbers, but like if there's ever a time where I, as a player, can get excited before the games, it's been about 3 years in a row where my pre-hype it just isn't there. I'm just not like I'm Vanguard, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3. I wasn't there pre-hype cycle, which kind of sucks for me as being as big as in the Call of Duty as I am. It's like there's something you get it every year, but there's still something special about a Call of Duty reveal when you're part of the Call of Duty community. And it's kind of sucked that the last 3 years I just haven't felt that way. But this being Treyarch, I do have a genuine like excitement of hey, like saying like what have they been cooking for 4 years? It's the longest that Call of Duty has ever been in development. It's my personal favorite studio of Call of Duty. Like it's adding up to be like hopefully a really good reveal and a really good time. But Call of Duty, it feels like at this point it's 50-50. You're either making a really good game or you're making a game that is not great at all. So it's kind of 50-50 for me.
Hey man, I'm hoping. I want something Call of Duty. Actually, that's a good transition as well. Are we gonna get that Activision drop into Game Pass here? Like, are they gonna do it before, or are they
Yeah, I'm
gonna
sure
say,
we'll get
"Hang
something
on, shit stage"?
because it's been too long, and it's like, why hasn't anything happened? It's like, well, obviously they're saving it for E3, and clearly it's like, if not now, then when?
Yeah, I think it
Oh,
will
with
happen.
Black Ops 2.
When you're dropping, like if you're doing an entire Call of Duty event, why not be like, hey, and play all these other Call of Duties on Game Pass?
I'm right there with you. Now, another game that is supposedly supposed to be there is Starfield, with the Shattered Space expansion that supposedly is supposed to release in September again, all according to Tom Warren. Grain of salt, but also Tom Warren's squeaky clean reputation, as I said before. And we actually got recently news of a Starfield update coming. VGC has this, Jordan Midler. Starfield's next update includes 60 FPS mode for Series X, detailed surface maps, and more. Update 1.11.33. I don't know why I said the same thing. You know what it is, which is available now in Steam beta ahead of its general release on May 15th. Includes detailed surface maps, something fans have requested since release of the game. These maps show every piece of geometry in an area, including remote locations rather than just large cities. An extreme difficulty has also been introduced, which is now the game's highest difficulty settings. That is a typo. Players can now customize the interior of the ship, similar to the way that players could already customize their homesteads. This update will also change the game's performance on Series X. The performance mode will now target 60, and for users with a VRR display, a 40 FPS option will be disabled. Not disabled, be available. Sorry, that would have been bad if it was just like, nah, you don't get to fucking play. Fuck you.
I think this.
Yeah, Bench, you never let me talk. I wanted to say
Paused.
No, you're rude. I will say it is funny that it's coming on May 15th, which is my birthday, which is just like a big fuck you by Bethesda. But I wanted to ask y'all if this gets you any more interested in going back to Starfield in any way possible, or are you waiting for Shattered Space?
It gets me interested for sure, and I could see us getting one other update before Shattered Space. And also, yeah, it gets me excited. Like, I definitely want to go back to Starfield, but I probably will wait for Shattered Space. But like, if this didn't happen, I don't know if I'd go back at all. It gives me excitement.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
lately they've been really quiet. Fusion Code.
Vehicles.
Yeah, I'm kind of saying this update actually did get me pretty excited. And I was someone who I've said on this podcast before, I'm like completely out on Starfield to the point where it's like I don't even think about the game. I'm like I was at the point where after launch I was like, oh, I'll probably play this like in the future down the line. And then for the last few months I'm like, I'll probably never play this. Like, there's just not. It's not. I personally, for me, I would give Bethesda respect. I never thought they were going to have. I never thought they were going to continue to support this game. I thought this was going to be a, hey, this was the game at launch. This is what we gave you. I understand there was going to be some types of updates, but I didn't think they were going to go this hard with quality of life and like actually trying to like support this game for years. I think that's their plan. So that's on me for just not believing in Todd Howard and the team. But like this update, Shattered Space, like I feel like this gives me a cyberpunk type opportunity where it's like once that expansion drops, hopefully this game just in a way better space and like I can jump in there and actually have a very good time. It makes me feel bad for the day one players who they still probably had a great time, but there were still a lot of people who jumped in day one and hated it. And it's like they could have had all these features that are now about to be in the game that should have been there day one, and they still should get some type of like, hey, why wasn't 60 FPS there? Why is the map update not there? Like they should have been at the game at launch, but at least it's finally coming, and it's nice for a bunch of new players who are like, hey, I waited on Starfield. I can jump in and finally have like at least a closer experience to what Todd Howard and the team wanted to release.
Yeah, like I'll likely restart with Starfield. Another prediction I have is I think within the month of Shattered Space, either a month before, month after the date, I think Starfield and its expansion come to PS5.
You just throwing all the takes on the wall today.
Okay, wait, my mic was muted. So when Starfield Shattered Space releases, right?
Just sometime in that month window, the date it drops, the month before, month after, sometime in that like launch cycle, it'll come on PS5.
That is an interesting prediction. I mean, I feel like if they were to put it out, they would wait maybe a little longer after Shattered Space, just to not screw over the Xbox fans who bought Shattered Space, bought the expansion pack, and it's like, oh, it's actually coming to PS5. It's like, that's weird. Jet, real quick, before we get further into it, Jet, you actually really liked Starfield at launch. I mean, does this
Yeah.
update get you more interested?
So not this update specifically. Like, I think the only thing that actually got me excited is the promise of vehicles, but like they're not actually putting in vehicles in this update. But
Mhm.
so yeah, I know. And so I think I want to wait until not only Shattered Space is there, but also mods. I want that modding space to be open. I want to see the crazy shit people can put in space.
I mean, Todd Howard straight up said in his interview, it's like, yeah, console mods, they are coming. You know, like the creation kit is in the works. Like we got it to mod creators' hands. So I very much think like modders are gonna have a field day with Starfield. Hopefully, I mean, there was that like article that was, I think, like expounded, where it's like Starfield mod creator says he thought the game was so boring he didn't even want to mod it. It's like, okay, that's one mod creator, guys. Let's not like get too crazy. But I don't know. It is interesting. As someone who didn't really like Starfield, I look at this update and I'm very happy for Starfield fans. I think that this is all stuff that, you could say, oh, it should have been there at launch, but hey, it got there eventually. That's something to at least like give them credit for. I don't think this would get me interested at all because a lot of my issues are very core to Starfield, like of what that game is at its core. But again, maybe I don't think that's something they would outright change even with an expansion. So I'm happy for the Starfield fans. I'm glad they get to have more Starfield in their future, and it looks like this is overall a W of an update.
One last thing, because I was thinking that when Shattered Space launches, we'll likely get another free update like this alongside it. Could like an update like that adjust adjust like random generation in a way that could be better. Do you think that's
The
possible?
procedural generation, like
Yeah,
make
do you think
procedural
they could
generation
update
possible.
that? Not like an
Not-
overhaul, but in a way that doesn't feel as lifeless.
Not in a random update. You would see that in a Shattered Space. Real quick, is Shattered Space the only expansion? I forget.
I think there has to be more.
I thought they said 2, but I could just
I
be making
think
that number up.
I'll search that up real quick. But yeah, no, I think you're right, Bench. Like something that like at least adjust the RNG in some way, because we got to remember they've been really quiet about Starfield the last few months. I mean, it seems like they were really putting their heads down and working on it, but like there was like nothing, no communication about like a later update, any later like patches or anything. They were very much like they added a patch to make like lock picking a little easier and then said, okay, bye. So I thought that was interesting. But this big update, this is like, hey, this is our big update. Check it out.
Yeah, because like it or not, Bethesda likes 10-year games, and it wouldn't surprise me if they want to put the random generation in a good place that a lot of people do enjoy, and choose to update that. And I do think if they do that, that would have not like it would have to be a free update. Like it'd have to be available to all players.
Yeah, I'm interested.
I-
I think it would probably be a free update that coincides along with the DLC.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I'm saying. With I think
Oh,
we get
okay.
another update with like free update with stuff like this. Maybe vehicles are free or something on top of the expansion. Because a lot of games like Cyberpunk, when the DLC dropped, a free update came out with a ton of stuff. So
The
I
feature
will
length will
say,
cut.
I don't know if you found anything about those other expansions, but all the wording, like the words they use for this expansion is first. Like they said, this is the first, like Shattered Space is the first major expansion, which means there's got to be more, right? Because why else would you use the word first?
because
Yeah,
if they can, yeah,
I'm just trying to find it. Go ahead.
if they can like nail and fix some of the issues I had with exploration, which maybe they never do, but if they can, if there's make a couple tweaks, like I could come out of this, go back and restart and have a good experience. Because a lot of my issues with Starfield were pure exploration based.
I literally can't find fucking anything. I know something in regards to Starfield Deluxe, but everything I search up is like Shattered Space will be the next big expansion. It's like I don't give a shit about Shattered Space. What's after it?
I do think they said, I think whenever on like the page, like the image they had whenever it's like explaining the $100 edition, it said whenever it had Shattered Space, above it it had first Starfield expansion.
Okay, yeah,
They
yeah.
obviously
I see
have
it now.
they obviously
Okay,
have plans beyond that.
First story expansion. Nothing about like a second one, but it very much says first, so I assume that's very much the first one, and then we'll eventually get the next. I assume we'll just have 2 big ones, maybe 3, but I don't know.
I mean, depends. Like they could do more like what they did with Skyrim, and one of the expansions is kind of like additions to the base game. Who knows? Like the home update. It wasn't as expansive as the rest, but it
Hearthfire.
did. Yeah, like because that was still a great update, and like that stuff is fire. But it's not like story content. I could maybe see something like that.
No, I'm right there with you. Something like much more akin to like adding more to the base building, the ship customization, which they are to this update, but like even more so, like very much more
Yeah.
expansion. Yeah, I'm interested to see. I'm very excited for Bob. I know he's a big Starfield guy. And Jad, I know you also love Starfield.
Yeah.
On the record, Bop was disappointed by Starfield.
I want to point something out about Bob is that he's been saying some crazy things to me in my DMs. All right, let's just I watch that guy. That's all I'm gonna say.
He's scary.
That's fucked up. Okay. What's the future of Square Enix? Now, this comes because we had an article recently from VGC. Square Enix looks to have canceled games, stating it will be, quote, more selective in the future. This is Jordan Midler of VGC. Square Enix has suggested it's canceled or rescoped announced game projects or unannounced game projects as it continues to reassess its overall development strategy. During a meeting held on March 27th, the details of which were shared on Tuesday, the company decided that it would revise the group's strategy to development of high-definition games. The publisher says that following this evaluation, it expects to report content abandonment losses of approximately 22.1 billion yen, which converts to $141 million. Now, the question I have for you guys here is, what does this change about Starfield? Starfield.
Listen, that's an insult.
What does this change about Square Enix in regards to their release cadence, what franchises they focus on, and just will we even notice this? Will we even say like, wow, they put out a lot less games than they usually do?
Yeah, I think this is overall a good thing for Square Enix. It's something they should have done a long time ago because they had like 10 plus games release a couple years ago, and not one of them was like a banger. So kind of like taking down the scope, like taking down the amount of games, buckling down on the stuff that they know will work, and kind of building it up. Kind of because they're at like not a Capcom level low to where Capcom was, but like if they kept going at the path they were going, they would have hit that. So I think buckling down and focusing on some core franchises and a couple things outside of that and building stuff back up. And then eventually you have some more like different titles is going to be very successful for them. Like the new CEO that came in, like apparently he's like very aggressive and wants to make changes. And I think it could all work out very well in the long run.
I worry personally is what are these canceled games? What is it like? Something like the Saga game that came out. No one even knew it came out. It literally came out last week. So it's clear
I
that
knew it
stuff
came
like
out.
that would probably okay, Bench, well, you're a fucking weeb. Something like that very much makes sense to get canceled in the future because they clearly did not divest the resources. But like, what does this mean for stuff like Octopath? You know, is Dragon Quest 3 remake safe? Which I do think it is, but like this is always interesting questions to have just in
I
case.
think Team Asano is pretty safe because literally as the time these changes are being made, uh, I don't know his full name, but Asano became an executive at Square Enix. So they wouldn't promote him to like the executive tier of like Yoshi P, the person in charge of 7 Remake, if they weren't invested in what his team was doing.
I mean, I think I will say it was so funny saying people like, is the Final Fantasy IX remake safe? If they're gonna invest in any franchise, it's Final Fantasy. That's like their money making. Like I think you guys are fine. I think more interestingly, I think Dragon Quest is also fine. That's such a big deal in Japan. It just comes down to like the smaller franchises, like what starts to get eliminated, and maybe some of these eliminations are good. Like, why did you greenlight Various Day Life? All right, does anyone remember that one? I do.
I looked
Oh,
into
fucking
this.
psychopath.
I actually looked into this because I was curious. Apparently, it was an Apple Arcade exclusive that launched in 2019 and was exclusive there until for 3 years until it launched in 2022 on everything else.
Oh, okay, well, that makes more sense. I mean, even then, like there are a lot of
Yeah,
like Chocobo Racing GP,
yeah.
Valkyria Elysium, which I like Valkyria Elysium, but like that was a game they barely marketed. Like I think the problem is that Square puts out all these games, but they barely market. They barely feel like they're trying to get these games sold. So it's like, why are you even like releasing them at that point? Like you have to do something for these games to succeed.
Yeah, and I think these are all changes that in the moment, like also some games need to be canceled. Some games, a lot of the games Square put out probably
Redfall.
should have been canceled. Yeah, we don't talk about this enough. But I think this could be a really good change in the long run. Because eventually you're gonna get to like where Capcom is right now, and they have that like very adventurous Xbox Game Pass title, like Path of the Goddess. Like that's because of the success they built up. They can do something a little more wild and crazy, and eventually I'm sure Square will get back up there again. And I honestly like their smaller games. I think we're gonna have Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and the Asano games like Live Alive Remake, Octopath, Bravely Default. I think those are going to kind of be core and a couple other things, but I think it's going to like we'll get only like 1 or 2 games from Square a year, and I think that's probably good because that's what most companies do. Most companies don't put up like 4+ games a year, and Square put out like 10 one year, and none of them hit. So
Whoa! That was the same year they put out God damn, I can't think of anything.
Stranger of
Oh yeah,
Paradise,
that was the Babylon's Fall year. I
yeah.
remember now. It was 2022. God bless Square Enix. I don't know. I'm a little disappointed, but also I'm like, okay, we'll see where this goes in the future. I do also want to ask him, are we going to notice these changes like at
Yeah.
any ways?
I think if you just play the Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and Asano games, you probably won't notice it. But if you pay attention to the wider Square and a lot of the more niche things they do, you're gonna probably notice those are just completely going away.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it works out for them because Square seems to need a lot of help right now. Moving on. Another developer that seems to be going through a lot right now is Helldivers 2, Arrowhead. And this just broke today. Chris Gillian has this at VGC. Helldivers 2 will soon require all Steam players to sign in with a PlayStation Network account. The requirement was removed at launch following technical issues, but is coming back. The Steam version of Helldivers 2, wait, this is it. The requirement was present when the game originally launched, but after its unexpected early success led to severe technical issues, it was temporarily removed. Now a message from Sony on the game's Steam page confirmed that the requirement will return on May 30th, and that all players will need to have linked their Steam and PlayStation Network account by June 4th. Due to technical issues with this is a quote, due to technical issues at the launch of Helldivers 2, we allowed the linking requirements for Steam accounts on PlayStation Network account to be temporarily optional, Sony said. That grace period will now expire. So this broke. There was a lot of ire over on the Twitter space. It was kind of funny. It kind of broke out like around midnight my time the previous yesterday, and I was like, I wonder how people will react to it tomorrow. I checked Twitter. I was like, oh, there it is.
Yeah,
I personally, I fully understand the frustration. I think a lot of the like boycotts, refunds, that's much, guys. Let's calm down. I don't like signing into multiple accounts the same way as everyone else does. I don't like signing into a fucking Ubisoft account every time I want to play Prince of Persia. But I don't know. Like it's just, to me, it's weird that they were like, oh yeah, let's So apparently, okay, so this is a weird thing. I kind of went deep dive on this. Apparently, this was a thing that they had at launch. There was then eventually they took it out, but then they said it will eventually come back. But I feel like they could have better communicated that because it was just kind of like a little blurb on the Steam page. Now, of course, you could say that. I don't think because of that blurb, it will very much like legal action will not be a thing. That is not an issue at all. What I do find more interesting is that there are certain countries that just don't allow, like the PSN is not allowed there. And the people who bought Helldivers 2 in those countries, Philippines, China, several others, like a good amount, they just won't be able to play Helldivers 2 at all. They can't make a PSN account. So I think Sony should have some understanding to fix it over there. At least that's kind of my viewpoint. Okay,
Your
guys,
mic-
don't talk all at once.
Your mic like cut off or something.
Wait. What was the last thing I said?
they'll have
or
some
was you
sort of
mic?
solution.
Yeah, something about solution, and the mic was like, oh,
Yeah,
and it went off.
well, yeah, that's I finished talking.
Yeah, I think I like seeing different creators who are like don't pay attention to stuff, and like different journalists just like saying, "Oh yeah, I have like 100 hours in Helldivers. No, I want a refund, and I want to like boycott the game.
yeah,
This is
that's
so
always
stupid." Like some of this stuff is mind-numbingly stupid, and sure, I think could have been better communicated. But the fact that this is blown up the way it does is just like it numbs the mind. It's like I guess you have no gaming discourse to take over the world right now, so you gotta like curb stomp the most successful game of the year and one of the best games of the year. I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm sure Sony is gonna have a solution for those other countries. I don't think they'd do this if they didn't. Like, seriously. And also
Well,
I
that's the
bet
problem.
that this I bet that this being added adds trophy support. Because it was also confirmed that you're gonna have to sign in to play Ghost of Tsushima on PC. You're gonna have to do that. And I assume that this could add trophy support to that because we know Ghost is getting trophy support. So I don't know, just like reading people's comments and like big creators who are like don't pay attention to stuff, like say blah, blah, blah. It makes me want to pull my hair out because it's just like, why is this the hill that you're fighting for? Like it's just so stupid.
I personally, I just think it's silly that they like did not have a solution ready immediately. This is, I should point out, a lot of people were attacking Arrowhead. This was a Sony decision. This was not Arrowhead at all. They were actually kind of surprised by it too. I do think, again, I 100% agree. People are very much overreacting when asking for refunds when you're like 100 hours in or something. But they need to offer some solution for people in the Philippines or other countries that just can't play the game at all anymore. The game that they already bought and spent money on. And I feel like if you were going to have this announcement, you should have also just had a blurb saying, oh, if you're in these countries, you can bypass that requirement. Or, oh, if you're in these countries, we'll offer you like a full refund, no questions asked. Something of that effect. I just think this could have just handled this. My viewpoint is if you're going to do this, fine. one, I wouldn't have waited so long, and two, I wish you could have just better communicated this whole thing because it's really silly.
I agree, but one, there's still time. This isn't supposed to happen until May 30th. We got a whole month to figure some stuff out.
May 30th for existing accounts.
Yeah, that's what I mean, for existing members, yeah. So,
okay.
if you already own the game, let's chill out for a few weeks. It's the 3rd of the month. Two, if you're not in one of these countries that can't have PSN, and you can't, why are you complaining? Shut up. You're just complaining to complain. You're getting on Twitter to just, you had a bad day at work and you're getting on Twitter and chat. No one cares about your opinion. I'll be honest. No one cares about your little crybaby opinion. You're not in that country. Shut up. It doesn't mean anything to you. There's nothing you're going to put out on Twitter or YouTube or any type of forum out there is going to be helpful to anyone out there. You know what I mean? You can't help them. So I don't understand that whole thing. That's just gamers being crybabies, which Steve's have been, it goes up every single month for the last 2 years. It felt like ever since the pandemic, it feels like gamers are so entitled to everything. For two, yes, Sony should have something in those countries that this is going to affect. If you cannot play this game, they should either have a full refund or Sony should have some way immediately by the end of this month to be like, hey, we're going to figure out how you're going to be able to play these games. You have to, they have to 100% figure that side out. I completely agree. Third point is this was their day one with this game, but because of bugs and a launch issue, they had to take this out. It's always been there on the Steam page that says you have to have a PSN account. It's been there since day one. This game was in there on day one, but because the game launched pretty buggy, especially on the PC side, they had to take it out because it was you couldn't load the game up. There was a genuine bug that broke the game that they were like, okay, we have to take this feature out for now, but it was there day one. So you knew at some point this was just going to come back. Could Sony have just never brought it back? Sure. I don't exactly know why they bring it back. It's probably just because it shows, okay, now we're adding millions of new PSN users, and that's probably helpful for them on their backside. But they could have probably just bypassed this completely and said it won't come back. But I'm sure, like Bink said, they want to integrate some PSN thing on PlayStation. I mean, on PC. They're already doing with Ghost. Sure, the Horizon games will get it. They want to add trophy support, and they want a more PC present, kind of like how Xbox does it. So I'm sure this in the long run is more important to Sony than if they just bypass it completely and could avoid the controversy. Because you look at Helldivers 2 right now, and it's still over 100K concurrent. People, the boycott is not boycotting. No one is boycotting this video game. They're just crying on Twitter and then immediately loading up the game 5 hours later and playing it.
And then review bombing it because that's smart. And yeah, you're not stupid.
The only story here is if you're in one of the countries that PSN doesn't exist, you're getting shafted, and Sony needs to figure that out. If you're not one of those people, no one cares what you have to say.
And I'd put money on that. It's probably not even going to be an issue for those countries. I think Sony probably already has a solution and probably should have said it but hasn't.
Wow, you guys are passionate. I had the actual question, but you guys were going off. I did kind of want to ask. I mean, Fusion, you went into this. Helldivers 2, will these requirements? Do you think this will cripple the game in the long term, or even just because the community's opinion on Arrowhead, putting aside our own personal opinions on the matter of our viewpoint of everything? Do we think the community is going to suddenly turn on Arrowhead now and kind of what was such a positive experience with the game, will it just completely shift because of these requirements?
I don't think that. I think this game's very much I don't think. Again, I think this is just something that says this will. 3 days from now, no one's going to talk about it. Maybe 2 days from now, people are going to continue to play this game. I think Sony probably doesn't want this happening on Twitter right now, but this isn't a big enough issue that's going to stop more people from buying the game or more people from joining into the game. It's just not a big deal. We've seen it time and time again. Problems a lot larger than this. Boycotts usually don't work in the video game space. People do not use their wallet. Right.
Boycott Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yes, this, it doesn't happen in the space. As much as the minority usually wants it to, it just doesn't happen because there was hundreds of millions of players out there that aren't chronically online like the weirdos on Twitter who are up in arms about this. Your local casual gamer has no idea what's happening. He's going to make a PSN account and play the game and not think twice about it. He doesn't care. But you on Twitter care.
Yeah, I'm very interested. Real quick, I do want to point out there was a Helldivers 2 sales update. Oh no, there wasn't. Oh wait, okay. So this is from Matt Piscatella. We have this part in regards to Helldivers 2. PC has been a huge part of the success of Helldivers 2 in the US. With PC, Helldivers 2 is already the 7th highest grossing Sony published game in history. Without PC, it wouldn't currently rank among the top 20. And I kind of wanted to add that discussion point of like, do you think Sony looks at these numbers and says, you know what, we need to start treating PC as a more serious platform? Like that is our other avenue of like business.
Yeah, I think because I mean they're seeing success with their multiplayer games. I think they should also look at it with their with the sales of their single player games, and maybe like if not do day and date because they of course have to sell PS5s. Maybe like a 6-month window or something shorter than like the 2 years that they usually do. Because I think we're due for like God of War Ragnarok next, like after Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, I could see something like that, maybe like a year. No, that makes sense. I mean, like it's clear Sony. I mean, we see a lot of diminishing returns from a lot of their exclusives, and it's like, well, people aren't buying the PS5s. We need to be able to sell these games as exclusive, and they're like, okay, well, we need to get our revenue from somewhere else, and PC just makes the most sense. And I will say, you'll never see PS5 games like story-focused PS5 games like Last of Us on Xbox. I can't imagine that, but I could see Last of Us 2 maybe eventually hitting PC later on down the road. And even like hell, Naughty Dog's next game, Last of Us Part 3, most likely a year later, it's very possible that it will hit like the PC like just after 1 year. You know, we don't know what Sony's strategy regarding PC is. And I kind of wanted to end this whole thing with just a little game to cool off our jets, because Fusion and Bench, you know, I saw you guys throwing your water bottles, your glasses, screaming at the TV. Just calm down, you know. We got
I was
a
mad.
fun little
I'm sorry.
game.
It's more just, it's not because of this. I just feel like gamers are just so entitled over it. Like it makes me so upset at the amount of entitlement on gamers, especially on like the Twitter and Reddit side, where I'm just like, guys, take a step back. Cool people are making your video games. Like you're gonna disagree with some stuff, but like just like breathe for 10 minutes and just like get through it. You know what I mean? Like it's okay. It's video games at the end of the day. There's no life threatening issues here.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, hey,
But
I
see,
would
you
say,
don't understand. I have to log into another account.
Yeah, dude, it's a lot of effort.
I do think we should all take a break from Twitter. We're the normal ones, and we need to take a break because, like,
Yeah.
listen, guys,
I'm there for sports. So.
We didn't talk about it. The Stellar Blade stuff. Oh my god, I actually thought it was gonna fucking die. The censorship bullshit. Oh, grown fucking men. Anyways, back to the fun video game that I want to play. Matt Piscatella put out the top 20 best-selling premium games of March 2024. You guys didn't take a look at it, right? Which I explicitly told you not to.
Nope.
I saw
Alright.
your parentheses, and I said I won't look, dude.
Sweethearts, I love you guys. Let's do a quick guessing game. What is the number one game?
This is for March, right?
March, yes.
Helldivers 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe probably
Oh.
Helldivers 2.
Close. Anyway,
Oh.
I was about to ask Bench and Jap, but Helldivers 2 is second.
When
Did
it
that
came
many
out.
did that many people buy Princess Peach Showtime?
Princess Peach Showtime is actually sixth. But
Rebirth is 4,
thank you.
right?
Rebirth is seventh. Real quick,
Okay.
with Princess Peach Showtime, that does not include digital.
Dang, what came out in March that would be bigger than Helldivers?
Dragon's Dogma?
It also had a big Yep, there it is. Dragon's
Oh,
Dogma.
Dragon's Dogma. Wow. I
Yeah,
already
that
forgot
Dragon's
about that
Dogma-
game.
That boycott worked.
Apparently, because I forgot about it.
I mean, hey, it worked because it's the number one best-selling game of March. You know, gamers, maybe they had a point. Another. So, okay. What else is going to be in that top 10?
Probably
one here
a
that
sports
genuinely
game
surprised
of some sort, right?
Stellar Blade?
Yep,
Would Stellar Blade be in there?
Stellar Blade was April. Man.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
the March.
I get March and April mixed up a lot.
You got the
Madden
sports thing.
or FIFA?
So Madden NFL 24. That is 11th, and FIFA is 12th. But there was 2 other sports games in the top 10.
PGA, golf.
Bro, who plays golf?
I don't know.
Fucking Bop.
Yeah, probably.
I
Actually, I
don't
think
think there was a-
PGA just
a
came out
golf
in
app.
April. I'm trying to think of when MLB The Show came out. Was that in March?
That was, and
Okay.
that's number 3.
Oh, dang. Baseball fans. All 4 of them.
Yeah, that's crazy. What the fuck? There's another sports game.
NBA?
that's top 10. Not NBA now. 2K is not on the list.
Are you counting? Oh, WWE.
Yep, WWE 2K24. That is 9th. Now there's a couple more premium games that I'm surprised you guys haven't listed off yet.
March.
The bench said Rebirth at 7. There's one that I'm actually really surprised about is in the top 10,
Persona?
like, genuinely. Persona is not on the list.
Damn it.
Dang, I'm sorry, Jack. I tried to throw one out there for you.
Yo.
Like a Dragon.
Like a Dragon is not on this list.
Wow.
Suck.
Gamers suck.
Yeah,
Rise of the Ronin.
Rise of the
Oh, yeah,
Ronin,
Rise of
that's
the
number
Ronin.
5.
I forgot
that's
that game
number
came out.
Me too, actually.
Man, you
And
guys
it's on my
really hate
fantasy
Japanese
critic.
games.
It's just there's so many games come out. Like when I don't play them, they usually like pass my mind for a while.
There's another. Okay, so there's one obvious like pick that I'm surprised you guys haven't said yet. Like, it's always in the top 5.
Mario Kart?
Mario Kart 8.
No.
Mario Kart 8 is number
There's
18.
no way Mario Kart is okay.
It's 18. And
GTA?
that's not including digital. GTA 5 is not on the list.
Wow. Oh, Call of Duty?
Yeah, there you go. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is number 4.
Okay.
So there's a March release that came out last March that came, it released on March. That's in the top 10 that I'm genuinely very surprised.
Mario vs. Donkey Kong.
Oh, that was February. Come on.
Oh,
man.
really?
Trying to
What?
think.
Yeah, that was like late February.
In March.
What is it?
Hold on, can you give us a
Wait, there was-
genre?
Wait, there were 3. Wait, no, we did all 3. We
It's
did
Japanese
Dog-
game.
We did Dragon's Dogma. We did Princess Peach. We did.
Oh, gosh, Vince, you played it and dropped it.
Unicorn Overlord.
Porn.
Yeah.
Yep, that was number 8. That's surprising to me that it got that high. But hell yeah, shout out.
That is kind of surprising.
I can list off the. I mean, like, you guys got any more guesses for like kind of the rest of the top 20? Because there's one more in the top 10 you missed, and
One more in the
It's one
top
of those-
10 we missed?
yeah, and one of the evergreen, like, always selling well games.
GTA.
No, he said that
Nope,
wasn't on the
licensed.
list. Licensed.
It was a big deal last year.
Spider-Man 2. WWE.
We
I
already
already
said
said that.
Ben just never
I
reading
know.
the top listening
Wait,
allegations.
it's licensed from last year.
Spider-Man 2 is 19.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Think really hard. Licensed game came out early in 2023.
Hogwarts.
Yep, there it is. Number 10.
Hogwarts is still selling that well. Good for Hogwarts.
Dude,
Yeah.
Harry Potter fans, they love this franchise. And then just I want to ask, there's one more 2024 game on this list. I want to know if you guys can get it. It
Persona.
was not released in March. Not Persona. I think Jat was thinking, like, if I say it, maybe he'll count it.
Like, at some point, it'll be Persona.
Prince of Persia didn't sell well enough. I know that, so it's not on the list.
I'm depressed.
A
God,
2024
Fusion
game?
really forgets all games.
Oh wait, there's no way The Last of Us is on there, right? Does
No.
that would count? Okay.
It's 2024 game, released early in the year. Not a common genre to see on here. It's actually a niche genre.
It's not like a dragon.
It's not a JRPG. It's not a shooter.
Not
I'm thinking of a way to not like narrow it down.
an
It's a big
RTS
franchise.
game.
It's a big franchise. It came out late January. Same
Okay,
day as another big game.
Okay, you said big franchise because I was thinking of like every game like Velocro, you know.
I wish
Velocro. I'm surprised Velocro's not. Well, I guess I'm not as surprised.
Come on, guys. It's a big franchise. Late January. Came out the same day as another big game that you guys have
Prince of-
said the name of multiple times.
Prince of Persia.
Hey,
No,
this is
God.
never-
I wish.
Okay, so I know there was a game that came out. I
Fighting
think it was
game.
Fighting?
Tekken.
Tekken.
Tekken
Yeah.
8, number 15.
Dude,
Okay.
that is crazy because in my head right now, I feel like Tekken was a last year game. Like, that's crazy.
Fusion's losing it, man.
Okay,
You gotta
speaking
think,
of,
in my defense, I've only played one 2024 game this year, and it's May. I've played one. Like, I haven't
We gotta get you
bought
to more,
these
man.
games.
I'll go over the last ones real quick. Minecraft was 13. Horizon Forbidden West
Oh,
was
Minecraft.
14, which
Oh,
I want to
there
point
we
out.
go.
Forbidden West went from the last month rank was 107 to 14 on merch, which I think there was a big sale. I don't
Well,
actually.
does that include PC? Because it just came to PC.
Oh yeah, that's probably it then. Yeah, I forgot about that. Rainbow Six Siege was 16. Elden Ring still in the top 20, number 17. And then Mortal Kombat 1 was 20.
Hmm.
I'm honestly
Okay.
surprised with how many games you guys just forgot came out.
No, it's more.
Like-
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I always think when this, I'm like, what games came out in February and March, which I should think of like Hogwarts and everything are years old, but like they're still selling so much somehow.
Yep. Moving on. Now for something not so fun, and that's more layoffs and now studio closures. Take-Two Interactive and shuts down two game studios. Jason Schreier has this. Video game publisher Take-Two Interactive Software Inc. plans to shut down 2 subsidiaries as part of a mass layoff. The first outfit is London-based Roll7, developer of the action game Rollerdrome. According to a note to the staff, Take-Two plans to close the studio and will offer severance agreements to its staff. The other is Seattle-based Intercept Games, maker of the spaceflight simulation game Kerbal Space Program 2, according to a note filed with the Washington State Employment Security Department Monday. Now, obviously, we've said it before, layoffs suck, studio closures suck, but I have a question for you guys, and more so kind of a bigger scope regarding Take-Two. And also, I do want to point out, Wario 64, games industry, the vast majority of private division staff in Seattle, New York, Las Vegas, and Munich have been let go. So private division, that was the publishing label under Take-Two. And I wanted to ask y'all, are studios under Take-Two outside of Rockstar in more danger than we ever expected? Because we always kind of assumed like, oh, well, it's Rockstar, it's Take-Two, they're a big company, they can handle it. Like Take-Two has the money to support them, but it seems like that's not the case.
You know what I think it is? I think it's very similar to Call of Duty under Activision, where you would think you're like, oh, a smart publisher would fund all the money that comes in from Call of Duty. You would think would go to the other to help the other devs, right? Like you would help Toys for Bob, get more Spyro games out there, Crash. Like you would do that. And I feel like they do the opposite, and all the money that comes from Call of Duty goes right back into Call of Duty. And it's probably the same under Take-Two and Rockstar. All the money GTA makes goes right into GTA. So they don't they're not they don't care about private division and they don't care about the other teams like the Mafia games or anything else. They're just like, hey, GTA is making all this money, let's throw it back into GTA to make even more money. Instead of, hey, GTA is making all this money, let's throw it back into this publisher and this dev team and this game and this franchise. It feels more of like a constant loop of, hey, we're only focusing, like Take-Two is GTA, like at this point. Like they're only focusing on that, just like for the longest time, Activision was only Call of Duty.
Yeah. So one thing I'm thinking about, because I think the only other one that could be safe is like the developers of the NBA 2K sports games, since those just tend to sell each year enough for them to keep making them. But the one thing I'm worried about now is like, because one franchise I've really gotten into is Mafia, and the developers Hangar 13. I feel like we're in that point of the industry where like if Mafia 4, like even if it's a good game, if it doesn't sell well, that could like just straight up shut down that studio because they spent so much money on that. They would be spending so much money, and yeah, and Take-Two would see that as a loss.
I mean, it's very possible that it's like they don't even get to be able to make Mafia 4. They just get shuttered before that. This is kind of the danger that we've been talking about, where it feels like Take-Two, even company as big as Take-Two that publishes GTA, like you said, Fusion, it's like, well, let's just invest more resources into GTA than even trying out these other things, which I think is just kind of a bad idea in the long run because these Rockstar games take like 9 years to come out.
Yeah, it's very much like you should, as a publisher, you should feel like, hey, GTA brings us so much money that it is like it's our backbone where we have the opportunity to now invest in our other studios because of how good GTA does. But greed and money and corporations don't think that way. They don't think of, hey, we could make all these cool games with this money we get. It's, hey, how much more money can we get? It's always the next step. They always have to meet a new quota. And the fastest way to meet that new quota is fund all that money back into GTA. They don't care about the Mafia franchise. I'm sure some of them do, but like my main point is like they just want GTA to keep being the best thing ever and selling the most copies ever. And if a Mafia game does good, they're like, okay, cool, Mafia did good, awesome. But they're never going to fund a Mafia game through the GTA pipeline, as they should. But they should, because that just feels like, as someone, granted, I'm not some investor or I'm not someone in the industry, but I feel like as someone who's looking at it, it's like, hey, I'm scared that we're going to get a point with Take-Two that Call of Duty and Activision got with, where Toys for Bob was now on Call of Duty, Raven was on Call of Duty, the Crash Bandicoot team was probably over there on Call of Duty. Like, everyone was helping Call of Duty. I don't ever want to get to a point where like Private Division, Hangar 13, all the other Take-Two studios are legit just GTA like help teams. I don't want them to be support devs for GTA. And I feel like it is scary, similar to the way Call of Duty is handled and the way GTA has been handled as a franchise in the last few years.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I just hope this doesn't lead to basically less diversification within these publishers, which I feel like they kind of need to have diversification in your portfolio. That always looks good to investors to say, hey, instead of just having like in a given year, there's possibility where Take-Two just says in the investor report, it's like, yeah, all we had for this year, like 2027, was NBA 2K 26. No, 28, because they do a year after. But like all we had was NBA 2K 28, and GTA 6 is still selling well. And it's like, well, you guys really aren't doing much interesting. Like what happens when that cash cow eventually erupts? Like there's no guarantee in this industry that anything will continue selling well forever. So I feel like it's very important for these publishers to say, no, actually, we have this game in the pipeline. We have 3 more games coming out. I mean, we know there's that BioShock game that's apparently being developed. It's I assume it's very close to at least getting a reveal. I just feel where it's like, right now, it really feels like Take-Two is banking on GTA 6, and then they have Mafia, and then they have BioShock. And even then, Mafia and BioShock, we haven't even gotten reveals of.
They do have the Max Payne remakes as well, even though Remedy is doing it.
Right,
But like those are coming, so they have that, and they'll get some type of money from that. But the way Alan Wake sells, who knows how the Max Payne games sell? But like, yeah, so they have something. And like Midnight Suns wasn't too long ago. That was 2022 under Firaxis, which is under Take-Two. So it's like they have things like that, which they do like every once in a while. But those games, like they're not big sellers, and I feel like I feel like outside of GTA, I guess 2K, like the NBA games, like Take-Two never goes all out on marketing for any of their other games. It just feels so weird to me where they're just like, I understand GTA is giant, or Rockstar in general is giant, Red Dead, just both those franchises, but it almost feels like if I was those other devs or those other like teams under Take-Two, I would feel almost slighted where it's like, you feel like the middle child or like the stepchild where you don't get as much love. And I'm not saying they deserve all the love that GTA gets, but it almost feels like I would be sitting there as a dev being like, do you even care what we're doing? Like, you're just like maybe throwing money at us left and right, but do you care as people like the next Mafia game or the next like Firaxis, like XCOM or whatever they're going to work on?
We will see. I really hope this doesn't like kind of spell the future of Take-Two and kind of just being a boring company. But one company that isn't boring is Capcom. And Capcom, we just got some details regarding Resident Evil 9 and how it could be released in January. Jordan Midler over here at VGC has the story. According to Dust Golem on X, Resident Evil 9 should be revealed soon and is set for release in early 2025. Dust Golem has a strong track record of revealing confidential information about upcoming games before they are made. And I should also point out there have been rumors that also Dust Golem has stated that Resident Evil 9 is the open world Resident Evil. It's going to be the one that changes the formula. And the first question I want to ask is, are we about to experience Resident Evil burnout? And I want to actually bring this over to our guest chat. Jet, I know you're a big Resident Evil guy.
Yes.
Do you fear a burnout of Resident Evil, that we're getting too much at once, or you're like, no, feed me more, I'm gluttonous?
Okay, so that's actually a good point, because like we literally just got 4 just a year ago, and then before that I believe it was Village before that, right? Like that was in 21 or 22. So
21.
yeah, 21. Wow, yeah. So it does feel like they are frequent, and I think um like like personally, I find the games like really fun. So I don't mind like just another Resident Evil uh, after another. But like I do get like how people feel that like yeah, this might be too many. This might be like too many Resident Evil games. Like I'm wondering after this, like, are they gonna do RE5 remake? Like, how soon will that be? But yeah, I mean, it's like I'm really curious how Capcom is gonna what's it called, evolve the franchise, and like if open world is gonna work, or and if people will vibe with that, or they're just gonna say this was an experiment and we're never doing this again.
Yeah, I am very curious. I mean, like we know that this was kind of a big initiative out of Capcom that they very much wanted to. They had like 3 games: Monster Hunter Wilds, Dragon's Dogma 2, and Resident Evil 9. They're the big open world experiments, and I am curious. Like, can Resident Evil work in an open world environment? I'm definitely like I'm open to the idea. I'm very interested to see what they can do with it. But we've had Resident Evil be kind of the same formula. I say same formula, but like first person, third persons, with 7 and 8, and then like the remakes. Also, like they do kind of play the same. Like they're very linear, very much like survive, grab items, get through the next area. And I just wonder how that works in an open world environment.
I will say, I think Resident Evil and Capcom can get away with the Resident Evil rotation because, for one, they're remaking games between new games, so like it still feels fresh. Because you, as a long time fan, you're getting cool remakes, but you're also getting new stuff. So like you're still like feeling fresh in there, and it's also they're still all quality. There hasn't been like a Resident Evil game in recent memory where you're like, this isn't good. This isn't a Far Cry scenario. Love Far Cry, but it's not like no one's asking for the Resident Evil like to change, or no one's like sick of the Resident Evil formula compared to like there's 6 Far Cry games and people are like, okay, Far Cry, you gotta change it up for us to be excited. I feel like no matter what, when people hear, hey, a new Resident Evil is out, they're getting excited. This is a very popular franchise and people like adore the Resident Evil games. I just hope, I don't know what I hope. I guess open world's a little odd to me, but if that's the route they want to go, that's something they could like evolve the franchise if they do it right. I mean, it would be cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm very much a wait and see when it comes to this open world idea. I'm intrigued by the idea of like shifting the franchise yet again, and probably the biggest shift they have for the franchise. I mean, I'll ask right now: is this going to be a first or third person game?
First person, I'm thinking.
I
Just
think it
because
will be
have-
first.
You have
I
the
really
option for
want it to be-
both.
Oh, I really want it to be third.
I
I'll
want
be
it to be
honest.
third. I think it will be first.
I mean,
Yeah, I'd want it to be
is a
third.
whole new. This is a whole new shift for Resident Evil, and they usually do like change it up in some way. And I feel like they've had bigger successes with the third person game. Yeah, I say that, but I think Village is still the best selling Resident Evil, so maybe that's unfounded on.
They patched third person into Village though.
Oh,
They do.
oh yeah, that was an
Yeah, they
update.
do. They haven't. I think my thing with I was sounding dark earlier. I'm like, they have such a good thing going with, hey, we're going to remake an old third person Resident Evil and then just release a new first person one. Like, it feels like such a good. It's why it feels so fresh. It's why people aren't getting burnt out because between the first person Resident Evil games, you're getting a third person remaster. You know what I mean? So, like, if your modern games are starting to become also third person, there might be a thing where it's like, you're feeling like some type of fatigue. I think at the very least they're going to stick with first person until maybe they get through the Resident Evil 5 remake and the Resident Evil 6 remake if that's the route they want to go. And at that point, 8 years from now, they could be like, okay, we've remastered all the third person ones we want to do. We can get back to that third person perspective. But that's also just like, I just feel like what they're doing right now is working so well. Why try to go away from the strategy?
No, I feel that. I very much understand that viewpoint. Very excited. Very much. I'm a big RE guy. I love the franchise, but again, I am a little not worried, but like curious if burnout will be an issue going forward. But hey, We'll wait and
It
see.
might be among like gamers, quote unquote, but to like the people who buy like 1 to 2 games a year and they do like the horror games of Resident Evil, that's not burnout because they haven't played Resident Evil since when did Village come out, or at least Resident Evil 4 remake. It's
Yeah.
only been like 2 years, so they're like, oh yeah, I think I'm ready for another Resident Evil. Whereas all of us who have played like a bunch of other things are like, do we really want another Resident Evil now?
If it's
They gotta-
third person, I want it now. If it's first, I'm like, whatever. You can keep it.
Oh, you're not a big fan of the first person ones?
I haven't played 7 and 8 yet because I'm that person who's like, I'm gonna wait till they remake 5 and like it's stupid, I know, but I probably will
Yeah.
at some point play 7 and 8. It's just I'm not a huge pure horror video game guy, and I hear 7's just like straight up pure horror video game. Like I'm never just like I'm gonna sit down and play just straight horror game. Like I'll play horror game, but like it's never been my thing. So like 7 8 have never enticed me like the other third person games that feel more like action oriented and like I've also I just prefer third person games. Like I've said before, first person games I usually get more headaches and like it has to be a really good like done first person game, which I'm sure the Resident Evil games are great in first person. I just haven't tried them to like put a grasp on it, but it does get me less excited if they're just saying if it's just another first person Resident Evil.
Yeah, 7's like you said, pure horror for at least like half the game. 8 is a lot more action based, but there's one area that's genuinely fucking terrifying. But the rest of the game is very
Oh,
much
yeah.
like an action game.
Yeah, I'm
Everyone
not more
knows
like
everyone who played.
like I'm never gonna sit down and play Outlast on my time. There's nothing wrong with Outlast, good game. Like but I would rather those are games where it's like I watch my favorite YouTuber watch for the reactions. Like I watch them on YouTube or something. I'm never like I want to play Outlast by myself in my room for some reason. Like I don't get joy out of that.
No, fair. Let's move in. Resident Evil, that's far away, but I want to talk about the game stuff today. And one of those games is another Crab's Treasure, which, by the way, Fusion, you said you only played one 2024 game. Lied through your teeth.
Well, I meant
All
beat.
right.
Beat because I've also
beat,
played
okay,
Persona, if that
Yeah,
counts.
true. Okay, well, we've both played another Crab's Treasure. I platinumed the game, and you're still, like, I think around halfway, right?
I'm not even close. I'm probably not finishing this video game.
Oh, yeah,
if
I
I'll be
mean,
honest.
hey. I want to hear from you first, then.
I didn't get even super far. I think I'm 3 to 4 hours in. That's as far as I got because I've been playing it alongside other games. So like it hasn't been my main game, which I found out. I don't know. I've always been someone who can't play multiple games at once, so I don't know why I attempted it. But I was like, oh, play 2 games at once here. It hasn't been working. I just prefer the other ones so much more that like another Crowd Treasure isn't getting touched. But yeah, there's nothing inherently wrong with the game. It's just it was never on my radar the entire year until recently when people were like hyping it up more, and it was on Game Pass. Where I'm like, oh, I have Game Pass. I might as well try it. I tried it for a few hours. Nothing to me. Like, there's nothing in the game that's like, oh, I want to see this through for the next 10 to 12 hours. I don't know exactly how long, or 20 hours. There's nothing where it's like, I want to sit here and play it because it wasn't on my radar. So it's done some cool stuff. I don't think the game's bad by any means. I'm not dropping it in the way of, hey, this game bad. I'm moving it along where it's like, hey, I might play this down the road. It's just not something I want to play right now. I just don't feel like it's not grasping me like any other game would, hopefully, at this point.
What about it exactly? Is it the gameplay? Like, I know we were talking about the combat. You were very
Yeah,
much
I think for when you make a pure Souls-like experience, which is what this is, your combat has to feel really good. And this one, just for me, maybe I'm in the minority. I don't think it feels great. Like I think dodging is really bad. I think some of the hitboxes are not great which is just a lot of the things. I've ran into a lot of bugs. I'm playing on PC. I hear the console edition is just as buggy. Like I have run into issues where I'm like, this game's just not polished. Like I understand it's an indie that has some excuses, but like it's still just not a polished experience. But yeah, my main thing is like when I play your game, especially a Souls-like, I'm there for the combat. I'm there because I'm like, this is a challenging combat experience, and I want to enjoy the combat. I want a good parry system, which I think this parry system is god awful. I want a really good dodge roll, this one's not good. Like this, which is fine because they're going for their own thing, where like they want you to use your shell, and the shell abilities are really cool. And like this game is more block focused than any other Souls like I've ever played. And it's just like that's not the way I play Souls games. So from a straight combat perspective, I'm just like I'm kind of hard out on this game. But from like a story and world perspective, I'm kind of like this is actually really cool, and I'm more like interested in Krill as a character and the world they built more than I thought I would be. But I'm like I'm not having. You're gonna love this. I'm always story versus gameplay, but at this point of this game, the gameplay is doing nothing for me to the point where I'm like, I don't care that much about Krill's story to like see it through. Like I don't care what Krill does at the end of this game. Like he's gonna do whatever. He's either gonna get a shell or he's not. Whatever. Like there's not my moment. The moment-to-moment combat between the zones I'm going in, from point A to point B to continue the story, is not fulfilling enough for me to want to play.
Yeah, I think I very much agree for the most part on what you're saying. I do very much want immediately like the story, the presentation, the dialogue, the writing is all like top tier. Love it. It's the actual like ending and everything is actually pretty fun, and I like where they go with the overall like I guess story. Yeah, I guess the way they go with the story. I will say though, I do very much agree with you on the combat. I don't I don't think I'm as down of it on you as you are, but this is the best comparison I could think of. It's kind of like when Sekiro, the way people talk about Sekiro is, it's a game that forces you to use the parry. And I feel like with this game forces you to use the shield, like play as a shield player in Souls games. And the problem is the Sekiro, like they force you to play the best play style of that game. But with this game, I don't really care for the shield play through, and I want to be able to dodge roll. I want to parry. I want to do all that more effectively. And eventually, I did figure out the parry. I think the parry does work once you like learn how you're supposed to utilize it. It's still not the best. It's not a Sekiro. That's really like a high bar to pass. I understand, but it's still very much something that immediately comes to my mind where I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't feel nearly as good as these other games. Like the roll feels fine, not as good as a roll in any other Souls game. Like it feels very slow. Even when you use the small shell, the problem is you die in like 2 hits after that. So it's like, okay, I can't really utilize roll nearly as effectively as I would in like an Elden Ring. And so I kind of just block all the time, and blocking works, but blocking just isn't nearly as fun. It's not interesting gameplay wise that makes me want to really fine tune myself and figure out like how to utilize all the abilities. And I do think there's some really cool like ideas later on in the game, especially in regards to the platforming. I think there's a level near the end that I thought was absolutely a blast, and the final level was also really fucking cool, like both visually and just from a gameplay standpoint. But it just kind of comes across where I'm like, you guys have so many great ideas that I really want to see a sequel, or I really want to see DLC and see them really like expand upon all these ideas further. And again, I obviously like the game still, like I platinumed it and everything. Like it is an overall fun experience that I do recommend, especially if you have Game Pass to try it out. But I don't think this is gonna like, oh, when you play this now, you'll understand what makes Souls games so good. This is the most accessible Souls games. There's a shell that just there's an accessibility option that gives you a one-shot kill gun, which is great, but other than that, it's very much like just a Souls game. And if you're a fan of Souls likes, I do recommend it, at least trying it out. Again, it's on Game Pass, but I don't think this is going to convince anyone.
I will say, jumping real quick, the platformer I did play was pretty cool. I like that. Like very early on, you get like the hook, and like you can like basically grappling hook to certain things, which is like cool in the platforming perspective. And gosh, I had one other thing I just completely blanked on. Oh, and then well, this isn't what I was gonna say, but I know Moon played this before I even touched it, and I know Moon, you got like a few hours in, maybe even past where I'm in the game. And I know at some point you also decided, yeah, this didn't feel good enough for you to continue. Do you have the same thing as me? And
it was the dodge rolling, it was the parry, it was me and my bad directions. I just got lost and I didn't know where to go, what to do. And I just said, okay, well, clearly the game doesn't want me to move anywhere forward.
I feel that. No, I do feel. I think they could have. I never really got lost, but I could see I could see people getting lost on the way the maps kind of. They usually like you'll have a cutscene and the cutscene will be like go this way, and if you're like not paying attention for some reason, you would just completely miss where you're supposed to go.
Yeah,
I
so
think
you
there's
probably both passed where I went. So where I got was after you defeat the first boss, you go back to the castle and it's been like overtaken.
oh yeah.
That's
Very
where I
early,
got
yeah.
lost. I went through the whole castle. I
okay,
went through the
I
whole
got lost.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'm
got
not
lost for a
gonna front.
minute
I
there
got lost
too.
there
I
too.
don't think that level was designed very well.
I
It
wandered around that
was just
whole area about 3 times and I could not figure out where to go.
that was genuinely like just not a well designed level because I swear I was watching a podcast and then they're like, all right, the podcast is over. It's like I'm still in this
You're
fucking
like,
castle.
where am I going, bro? And like everything wants to kill you, and you're just like, dude.
Yeah, and they keep respawning back in.
Yeah. So I
It would
feel
have
you.
been
I definitely feel like how do I explain? I think this game is for especially someone could say I'm wrong, but I feel like for Souls-like especially, it's a genre where if it doesn't hook you in the first hour or two, you're not in. Like I feel like Souls-like have to like get you from the start, and if it doesn't, that's the rest of the game. Like if a Souls-like doesn't hit you in that first 2 hours, never going to hit you 10 hours in. You are playing what the game is giving you. You know what I mean? Like so if those first 2 hours aren't doing it for you, in a game like this, you're probably fine to move on and be like, okay, I tried it. Like 15 more hours, unless you say you beat it. So unless you say like 10 hours in, there was something crazy combat wise or something that evolved, but
I just don't have much else to my day, so
like it sucks though because I was like getting into it because I got the shell upgrades, I got that grappling hook, I beat the first boss. Granted, the boss fight sucked because once again the dodge rolls sucked, the hitboxes were all over the place, but I got through it, and then I like we were doing that like little obstacle course where you had to like climb the tower with the rope and the string and all that. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then we start getting all the shell abilities. Like, okay, this is cool. And then it just came to a screeching halt.
yeah, I'm
I will
very much
say,
in the same vein as you.
the game just becomes comically easy at the end of the game because you get this ridiculously overpowered shell where this big scary boss is supposed to take you. Literally, if you just block in the shell, he can't do damage to you. He just can't hurt you, and the shell has like almost infinite health.
Wow. I will say
So it was just funny.
I really like it's their shell abilities are basically just your like arcane or magic, just like any other Souls game. But I really think some of those shell abilities were really cool. Like especially
Yeah.
like the Coke can or like the can like does the
Yeah, the soda
fizzle
can
with the
was the
bubbles.
best one. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's dope. Or like there was a shot glass where it's like if I pressed a button, my shot glass like expanded and it like did damage. They had really cool ideas. I just wish the ideas felt as good as they look.
I mean, there's like straight up one that's a juggernaut where you can't take damage for a couple seconds and your attacks are boosted in power.
Oh,
And
that's
I'm like, this is a little overpowered.
yeah.
But like, yeah, no, what you said, the shell abilities, like especially later on, I think they get interesting. I will say they repeat shell abilities a lot later on, where it's like, oh, a new shell, I got excited, and it's like, it's the soda can ability again. It's like, yeah, I guess that was cool the first time, but like, I get there's 170 shells. I'm not expecting like a
Yeah.
unique one for each time, but like even that super overpowered shell I was talking to you about, that didn't have a unique ability. Like I saw that on like 5 other shells earlier in the game.
I will say someone can disagree. I do. If you're someone listening and you're like, I want to try a Souls-like, I don't think this would be the one for you. Like this would be the one where it's like this looks like this should be the Souls-like to get you into the genre. But I feel like if you start with this, there's going to be so much little stuff that just isn't quality enough because it's a small indie team. This is their first shot. Well, they probably haven't. Do they have another game out before this?
They
Yeah,
had
they've had
one
2
other
other
game.
games.
Okay, so they've had a
Oh,
few,
two?
but like this.
Their first Souls like though.
Okay, that's what I meant. Sorry, their first like Souls-like attempt. So like they have some great stuff in here, but I feel like if you're someone who's like, I want to try a new Souls-like, please don't start with this one. You might really like it, but please, if you start with this one and aren't liking like the dodge roll, the parry, and certain elements, don't be like, oh, maybe Souls-likes aren't for me. Because I promise you, like Eliza P, they're going to be extremely like a lot harder, but they're going to show you like what like Souls-like combat truly is. Because this game's going for that Souls-like combat, but to me, granted, I'm lower than probably a lot of other people. It just doesn't feel like it will ever. It never reached the quality of the other Souls-like games where I'm like, you need to experience this combat system. And I don't want people to jump into this because it's like kids first Souls-like kind of. That's kind of how they like advertise it. I don't want people to jump in there and be like, I don't like the Souls-like genre. I played another Scribe Treasure and didn't like it. Like, go out of your way and play an Elden Ring or Eliza P or something like that.
No, Fusion, I'm right there with you. Like it's very much like a yeah, maybe this is probably like if you're like the problem is like, oh, it's the difficulty that gets me away. Well,
Mhm.
sure, maybe this one will get you because it's a lot easier. Like you have the accessibility options, but it's not going to get you interested in trying out the genre and like diving further into what makes the genre so special to people like me and Fusion. Like I always say, I always maintain the opinion that I think the best one to start with is Elden Ring. I think it's just the easiest one to get into. Ask a friend, have them shepherd you through the if you're like that scared of the difficulty. That's kind of my viewpoint. But yeah, I mean, again, I think the game is fun. If you like Souls, like you'll probably get like something out of it, but it
I'll put
don't
you on the
come
hot
in.
seat real quick.
Oh yeah,
If you had to rate this game out of 10, what would you get?
7.
Okay, that's great because that's the way
Yeah,
that's the range I was feeling when I was playing.
yeah. No, 7 is exactly how I
That's
feel.
good. That's good. That's a good
No,
game.
it is a good game, but like again, not one that I would like go out of your way play it now.
Mhm.
That's kind of my
Yeah.
viewpoint of a 7. If you're interested in the genre, if you're interested in what you're looking at, then I would be like more willing to check it out.
Do you think it will? Do you think December comes around and this will be an indie darling, or do you
Not a
think?
chance in hell.
Okay, okay.
I think that you'll be. This is a year where you're getting Nine Souls, you're getting Silk Song, you're getting Balatro, Mini Shoot Adventures. That's a really cool indie that came out recently. You have so many indie games right now. The competition is steep. This is a game that I think a lot of people are going to be like maybe in their top 10s, their top
Mhm.
15s, or it'll get shout outs. It's not going to like maintain the range. But I am
Okay.
very happy for the developer. The developer is awesome. They're always on Twitter, like making memes and shit. They're really cool.
And they've got a lot of success so good for them. Like
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not trying to dog on the game at all. Like I hope more people play it, hope more people buy it. I'm just saying like, just I dropped off early, Moon dropped off early, but you got a platinum. So
Yeah, no, well, just take that as me being like such a fucking
mentally
fanboy of
sick.
this genre. Yeah, mentally sick. No, mentally sick for Souls likes. Give me all the Souls likes. Speaking of Souls likes, Bench, I'm so sorry. You had to listen to someone other than you talking for an extended period of time, but this is your time. Talk about Stellar Blade.
Yeah. I'm about 20 hours into Stellar Blade, nearing the end, and it's kind of been like ups and downs for this game. I think the pacing is pretty wonk. I think one of the characters' voice acting it's not good, it's not bad, which makes it terrible. It's just like the most like line reading delivery. There's no emotion behind any of the words. It's like I don't want to hear you talk because it upsets me. And then, but like combat, like the story of this game is so bland and predictable. Like you're not playing this game for the story. The combat is just incredible. Like I'm loving the parry, the dodge, the boss fights, and I wish there was like a thing. Well, yeah, just the combat's very good. And another issue I have with the game is it's like trash enemies, not like, but like the non-boss enemies. As the game has gone on, they have gotten more annoying, more numerous, and more painful and like brain damaging to deal with. Like, I just avoid them now because it takes so long to beat them, and then I honestly die because of like just getting like pulled up by like a ton of them, and it makes it extremely annoying and frustrating. So that's just been frustrating, which has dampened like there was the middle part of this game really elevated to like I'm loving this game. And I've gone back down to like I'm having a really good time with this game, and I think it's going to stay that way until the end.
Is it so? What's the issue with the fodder enemies? Are they not interesting? Are they difficult?
They're too difficult to the point where it feels like it's the game's fault. Because they're like they all like have different like things you gotta parry. They're all super like complexly like designed. But then they have stick like 5 of them and they all have a ton of health. And it's like you can't like parry them all, but they're all coming after you at the same time. And then if you dodge one of the perfect parry one of their attacks, then another one of the enemies is still gonna hit you right after you get out of it, to the point where like I'm like in a loop of dying until I get lucky. Which is frustrating.
Yeah, it very much sounds like it's a gank game with a lot of like those type of enemies where they put in like 5 enemies in a room and say good luck. I'm a sucker for that.
And it's not even like with like Sekiro, which does that. Like even like one-on-one now with some of these enemies is just kind of annoying. And like it's just like stuck in these like rooms and open areas with these like 5 to 6 enemies that are all like just like hard to beat because it's hard to like manage them all and it's just annoying. Like I die and I don't get frustrated that I didn't do this, this, and this. I get frustrated at the game because it feels like it's just like bad design. Because they all have so much health too.
Oh yeah, no, I feel that. I had one question regarding the game's quality. There was one thing I was a little worried about regarding the game, and that's kind of like the visual design of the enemies. They looked very samey. Would you say that's like very much a thing? Like even with the bosses, they just kind of look the same.
Bosses look different. Like the first boss you fight isn't like speaking much on that, and the designs are cool. But besides that, yeah, you're just fighting like flesh monstrosities, really, and some robots.
Okay, so just nothing like too crazy, like from a vision. Like there's
No.
no like crazy surprises.
And
Okay.
honestly, the game has some really fun side content. I've like collected most, if not all, of the costumes I can, and like the game I can, and the game's very like polished. Like mostly 60 FPS. I have like VRR. It's like it looks beautiful. Like no bugs or anything. It's got some glaring issues that maybe they can work out with the sequel. Like Adam, his voice is so bad. It's like
English
it's
or Korean?
English. It's frustrating that someone got into the booth and recorded one of the main three's lines for the entire game, and it's in the game. They're trying to be a lot more serious, and like I'm not even like hardly paying attention to this game's story, and they're taking it so seriously. And then you have Adam, whose voice is so deadpan, and Lily isn't great, but she has some emotion in her voice. And Eve is perfectly likable, no issues there. But Adam, like I just don't like that guy because of how bad the voice acting is. Like character writing is bland, Stuart, but I don't like that character because of his voice.
I have a question.
It definitely sounds like I'm gonna play this game. I mean, I was already gonna play it in Korean, but like now I'm like for sure that seems to be the play. Sorry, Fusion, go ahead.
Big. So Eve's the main character, right? That's her name.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of people, a lot. Maybe they're just horny, but I see a lot of people say that Eve should be like a PlayStation mascot already. Like she should be up there with like Aloy and Kratos and everyone. What's your thoughts on Eve as a character on like a PlayStation side?
Listen, she looks nice. And like horniness aside, it's kind of wild that they have like 70 costumes in this game across the base game and New Game Plus, and like the detail quality on all of them is like very high and very impressive. Like you just don't see that with the game without there being a price tag behind it now. Like I think that's just impressive on its own, like the amount of polish each costume has. But Eve is likable. I don't like there's a little bit of character depth that I don't like. It's just like it's not even comparable to other PlayStation characters though. I mean, like yeah, she looks nice. That's about it.
Do you think?
Well, not just she's like I think for a game like this, you do need to have a likable protagonist, and like nothing about I don't not like Eve at all. Like she's
Inoffensive.
cool.
She's inoffensive, basically.
Yeah.
Like you're not like thinking about like,
No.
oh man, her character arc. She's just
She's
like,
no
"Ah,
Adam. Where I want to like punch him.
Because I have seen genuine. They're usually just fanboy takes, but I've seen people like say like I think Eve like give Eve another game and she's gonna be up there with like Nathan Drake and
Well,
I'm like I don't know about all that, but I haven't played it.
Yeah. Apparently they set up for a sequel, so I'll find out. But I think that this is a game that's very, very impressive for a studio's first console game, and the quality and scale of it. And for a sequel that they could like take all this feedback gets me very excited. So I'm definitely pumped about whatever they do next. And honestly, like there's like apparently like a secret ending path in this game, and I just like apparently I did the stuff to get that without knowing it. So that means like I don't have to be frustrated and not knowing I didn't get the best ending. So that's cool.
Good to hear you're having a good time.
excited." I'm ready. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe that's the play for my next game. I don't know. I'm really intrigued.
I think you'd have a
I'm
good
excited.
time with it. The parry is like
You're
fantastic.
gonna go from another crab treasure combat to that and be like, wow.
Yeah,
This-
that'll be mind blowing.
And honestly, I was talking about the OST. Besides a couple bangers, nothing else has stood
Well,
out.
I was about to ask that because I thought from the trailers the OST was gonna be incredible, and I've seen people that say like,
There's a handful of songs that happen after that that are good, but nothing since like what the demo had to showcase. Besides a couple things really blew my socks off.
I know Gene Park said it's his OST of the year right now over Rebirth, which I thought was impressive.
Well,
Like,
Gene is insane.
Oh, yo, go for a reason.
he did say that, but like but that made me like very excited because Rebirth's OST is so good that I'm like, from what I've heard of Stellar Blade, I'm like, this OST sounds like it could be really incredible, but you sound like it's just like it's good, but there's nothing that's like
There are
blowing
some
you away.
really good songs that are like things that I will put on my Spotify playlist. But there's also like just so much like it's like don't even notice it music.
Oh, the moon type of music. Okay.
Well, that's all music to me.
True.
That is insane. Bro just dogged on a
I'm not
co-host.
dogging
out
him.
of
He just
nowhere.
doesn't. He can defend himself. He just doesn't listen to video game music like when he's playing the game somehow.
Oh, like
Yeah,
that moron
only one I can
moon
really
that I
think of
host
is,
with. Like, jeez, Fusion.
Persona music.
Hey,
I-
love him.
Nah, that's fair. I'm excited to try it more. Do you guys think this is going to be a game that we talk about Game of the Year time? Like, is people going to fight for it?
No, but I think it's a thing that people will still talk about just because it's a good video game. But it's
It's
not
gonna
like
be
that's
it's gonna be high in certain circles, like all the Souls fans and all that.
I
I'm
don't
excited to
think
see
at our personal show it would be up there because I think max
No.
like 3 of us might get to it.
That's gonna happen with a
Wait,
lot of
Fusion,
games
you're
this
not-
year. I've realized.
Wait,
I'm
Fusion.
starting to realize just how little overlap we're gonna have at the Sagi's.
Yeah.
Because Fusion refuses to play.
I'm gonna play this
2024.
game. I am gonna play this game.
Okay.
If that's your question, yes, I do want to play this game.
I'm
So
gonna try. I
I'm gonna
might
play
get
this
to it
game.
at some point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I heard it's got some good accessibility stuff too. I'm not 100% certain on that though. Did you notice anything like that, Bench? Like accessibility difficulties? Or you,
There's
like, I'm too good for
difficulty
this stuff?
modes. I mean, it's
There is a
I
story
think
mode
that
because it was in the demo.
yeah, but apparently it's
Oh,
like
yeah, right.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm just
Interesting.
playing on normal.
Real quick, I just want to point out, Fusion, you just reminded me because you said, "Oh, you're gonna go from another Crouch Treasure to Stellar Blade." I don't mean to dog on the game anymore, but like I literally went from another Crouch Treasure to Elden Ring
Oh yeah, I
to
forgot
play
you
it,
playing Elden Ring.
and I was like, "Fuck, this is night and day."
Yeah.
Like, I mean, nothing again. Great game, good game, and I'm very excited for the end of this podcast. It was a really fun one. I think we got some good conversations, but I think it's time for us to head out.
Ah, sweet relief! It's the end of the podcast. So we have had a lot of long topics on that one. Lots of internet rage and all that stuff that we just love to talk about on this show. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, all that other good stuff. Got the podcast. We got Slice of Anime, our other podcast, as well as video content that we're now regularly putting out, such as Bench's hot takes on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Those aren't my hot takes. Those are
It's-
facts.
What hot takes did he say? What did he?
I don't
go
know. I
on
haven't
about?
watched the
I said
video.
I said it was a good video game.
That's a hot take.
I was gonna watch it, Bench, but like I don't know if you had spoilers in it.
And then Elden
Dude,
Ring came back.
it's literally just spoiler the video for the game. Fusion hasn't watched
Okay,
it though. He's
I'll-
a hater.
That's
I actually did
insane.
watch some of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I
Some.
thought it was
Some of
good.
Anyway, we're putting out more content like that, so be sure to subscribe to keep watch on all of the stuff that we're going to be putting out, as well as we got some other ideas coming out later this month. So be excited for all new content for our 1-year anniversary that is coming up in less than 2 to 3 weeks. I don't remember the exact date. I'll have to go look that up. But be sure to subscribe and like to see all of it. So, as I said one more time, have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
good night.
Good night.